up your inbox. And before we officially start. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Delegate Lily Chi, Chair of the Business Regulation Subcommittee of the Economic Matters Committee. This is our second work session for 2024, and we have 3 bills on the agenda today: HB 175, HB 180, and HB 385. Last week, we had a good discussion on 5 bills. So today we hope to vote on 3 of them. A couple of them have amendments. So let's start with HB 175, sponsored by our committee member, Delegate Harrison. Tatiana, would you please explain the bill?
Yes, Madam Chair. So House Bill 175, Occupational Licensing and Certification, Criminal History, Prohibited Disclosures and Predetermination Review Process, prohibits an employer from requiring an applicant for an occupational license to disclose several things, including a deferred adjudication, participation in diversion program, an arrest not followed by a conviction for which no term of imprisonment may be imposed, a conviction that has been sealed, vacated, dismissed, expunged, or pardoned, an adjudication, and a conviction for which a period of 3 years has passed since the applicant completed serving the applicant's sentence, if the sentence did not include a term of imprisonment. There are 2 amendments to the bill.
Yes, please discuss the amendment as well. Amendments, yeah.
One of the amendments, Amendment 473626, -1, exempts the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, and the other, Amendment 983823, states that nothing in this section, meaning the bill, may be construed to override, supersede, or invalidate any compact or agreement already in place with regard to the regulation of any profession or occupation by a department, or supersede the authority of a department to require an applicant or licensee to submit to a criminal history records review in accordance with the section.
Okay, thank you very much. So just to refresh everyone's memory, the bill essentially does 2 things. It prohibits the listed departments, which now with amendment is just 5, a list of 5 departments: agriculture, environment, health, human services, and the labor, which all issue some kind of professional licensing, from requiring an applicant at the time of application to disclose certain information related to their past criminal history. And you can see page 2 of the bill of that list. And then it requires the departments to offer a predetermination upon request by an applicant whether that person's past criminal history would disqualify the person automatically from further consideration. So they wouldn't waste time waiting for months of going through the process. And then, ask the department to advise the applicant of any remedial actions they should take. And they're allowed to charge a nominal fee for such assessment. So as the council mentioned, we are taking out the Public Safety Correctional Services Department and make sure there's some disclosure statements so that our bill won't supersede any other existing compact as so forth. So let me go to Delegate Pippi for the first question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, look, I mean, obviously, I respect my colleague, Delegate Harrison. So I have some issues with the bill. One issue in particular is why would the state be interested in shielding? I'm looking at some of the categories here. So a conviction for a misdemeanor that did not involve physical harm to another individual. Well, there's a lot of those. They're also including convictions that don't have jail time. I mean, we had a floor debate where if you violate MDE, they're going to send the AG's office after you. I mean, we were passing bills that are criminalizing people who violate the MDE regulations, and now we're going to have people with criminal records working for the MDE. It just seems somewhat off. You should lead by example. I'm not sure that, I'm in support of the concept of this bill. Some of these things I'm fine with. They talk about if there was a charge or arrest and things of that nature that, don't involve a conviction. If somebody, for example, was charged with something, arrested for something, and then it was adjudicated not guilty. I mean, that's fair. But some of these it appears that someone has been convicted, so a lot of these are convictions with carve-outs. So unless I'm reading the bill wrong, I just wanted to share my concerns about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Weibel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I guess I was a little bit confused with the bill because the part on page 4 that says an individual may file a request with the department for review of the individual's criminal history to determine whether or not they'd be disqualified for the license, to me makes sense, but I'm not in favor of the rest of it. And it seemed like when the delegate was presenting the bill, that was the part she focused on, but the first part of it seems pretty egregious. Was she willing to amend the bill to remove the first part of it?
I'm sorry, she's not part of today's meeting. The first part is
Or you can't disqualify them based solely on convictions.
well, I think this is already existing law. A department may not deny an occupational license or certificate to an applicant solely on the basis that the applicant has previously been convicted of a crime, unless the department determines that it has substantial harm to the public and all of that. So that's already part of the law.
No, it's all that's in caps, so I assumed it was new.
Yeah, yes, in caps, it is new. So you're talking about page 2 at the bottom?
So was there any consideration given to eliminating all that part of the bill and just having the paragraph on page 4?
Okay.
Which basically allows them to check with the department, prior to going through the whole licensing procedure and then find out they're being disqualified. I thought that's what her testimony.
Yes, her testimony emphasized a lot on the predetermination.
Didn't really talk about the first part, which the first part of the bill seems to be the part that drew a lot of the opposition.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that point. I saw Vice Chair Crosby had his hand up as well earlier.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really think I have much to add. I think Delegate Weibel just at the very end there touched on exactly what I think the overall point of the bill was, is we're already doing this. The only difference now is so that somebody with a prior conviction doesn't waste time and money, especially when they're trying to get back into the labor force. They can find out before they take the test versus after they spent time, money studying, paid fees, maybe even pass the test, that they don't even qualify for the job. And I think that's what Delegate Weibel was hitting on at the end. So that's the only point I would make.
So yes, that was my impression from the hearing as well. The bill sponsor heavily emphasized the predetermination part, which is reasonable. But I think Delegate Weibel was raising a concern about the first part of the bill, right? If I heard you correctly, which is to prohibit departments from asking for certain information at the time of application.
Correct. I think when she presented the bill, she focused, as you said, solely on the predetermination piece, which I was fine with, but the first part of it I was not. And the first part of it seemed like it was the one that drew the most opposition. So I didn't know if she was, or this subcommittee or the bill sponsor was willing to delete that first part and just keep the part which she seemed to focus on, which was a pre-qualification as the.
So
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, please.
No, I was just going to say, as Delegate Crosby was saying,
yeah,
I agree with him. I mean, that seemed to be the focus of the bill. So why don't we just limit the bill to that part of it?
Okay. Well, can our committee offer an amendment to narrow down the scope of the bill, if that is the sentiment of the committee?
Yeah, I second that motion from Delegate Weigel to strike that part of the bill.
Okay, how about the rest of you? We still have the whole committee that can, you know, do whatever they want on this bill, of course.
Support the amendment.
Second.
Hold on. Procedurally, I want to make sure we can do this just on the fly, right? Vice Chair Crosby.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to talk procedurally too. So I guess the two things we would do now are adopt the other two amendments, and then we would have the intent to adopt the third amendment in full committee with Delegate Weigel, or what Delegate Weigel discussed, as long as the subcommittee is in agreement, right? Is that what we're trying to do? And then,
Okay,
there's plenty of time between now, full committee, and then, we don't even have to put it on a voting list until we get that amendment worked out.
okay. That sounds good to me. So let's adopt the existing sponsor amendments, which is 1, to strike public safety and correctional services from the list of departments, and 2, to make sure this bill does not supersede any existing compacts, etc. Would someone like to move the amendments?
Madam Chair, real quick, do we have to move each amendment individually?
Oh, individually? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm in a rush. I shouldn't be. All right. Would anyone like to move the first amendment to remove public safety and the correctional services?
Move the amendment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that was unanimous. Thank you very much. I see Delegate Queen and Howard also joined us. I hope you just voted for the first.
Yes, I've been here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I just wanted, if I'm gonna vote, I want you should be
To
able
be
to
on
see
camera,
me.
yes,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
for the second amendment, which is to make sure the bill doesn't supersede any existing compacts, etc. Anyone wants to move the amendment?
Move the amendment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed?
And
All right, that was also unanimous. Okay, so now we are going to offer.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
real quick, do you want me to draft the amendment that we discussed with Delegate Weigel, or do you want to take care of it?
yes, please go ahead and draft it.
All right, I'll take care of it.
Okay, so we'll have Delegate Crosby draft the amendment that we just discussed and offered verbally by Delegate Weigel. Okay, all right, so do we want to just vote on the bill at this point? Are we comfortable voting on the bill? With the
Can we-
expectation that this amendment will be. I'm sorry.
Well, let me ask you this.
Delegate Pippy.
Sorry, I should have raised my hand.
No, that's okay.
So I think the amendment would be easy, right? Just striking that portion. I do have one question though, where on page 2, line 8, we're bracketing nonviolent, and I guess because right now it says it is the policy of the state to encourage the employment of nonviolent ex-offenders. But we're bracketing nonviolent as if to infer that we're saying it is the policy of the state to encourage the employment of ex-offenders, which would assume including violent ex-offenders. Am I reading that correctly?
I think you are, from the way I'm reading it.
I think the amendment, Delegate Pippy, if Delegate Crosby is in line with what I was suggesting, would only retain the language on pages 4 and 5. So that would not carry through on the final bill. The point you're
I
making
see.
about violent versus nonviolent.
All right, so just for clarification, then thank you, Delegate Weigel. So is it your intent with your amendment to remove all bolded changes on page 2 and page
It would only be the
3?
language on pages 4 and 5 that would remain.
So 2 and 3 inclusive.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because there's some other wonky language in there too, where it, like page, I think he just answered it, so I won't belabor it, but like page 3, line 11, it says a direct and substantial threat to public. I mean, yeah, I think if we just stick to the changes starting, I guess line 4, I'm sorry, page 4, line 9 and below. Anything else above?
Yeah, actually, page 4, line 9 above is already struck with the amendment, okay? So it starts with the bold-faced text, an individual may file a request.
All right, because there's something on,
Right.
shit. Maybe if Delegate Weigel could just get with Delegate Crosby offline and work out what is that fair? And then we can vote on it once we have that back. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's,
Delegate
okay.
Crosby is back, so.
Yeah, no, I've been here the whole time, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry,
Um,
okay. So, okay, Delegate.
Do you want me to
Weigel-
move the bill as amended, Delegate Chi, and then we can vote on this, and then, they can oppose, people can oppose it now, and then when it gets to full committee, then we only have one more tweak, and I'll get with Delegate Weigel offline. It's a subcommittee vote anyway, right? So it's not
Okay,
actually
are we
recorded.
com-
Well, my last point is this. On page 4, the first line, they're bracketing out somebody on the sex offense registry.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
I mean, is
Delegate
that the
Pippy,
intent
just
too? Yeah.
Yeah, Delegate Pippy, just to clarify, it's a pretty inclusive amendment. It actually already struck the language on the top of page 4, the
4.
first two
Okay.
paragraphs.
Okay,
First
all
two
right.
paragraphs already struck, okay?
I got
So
you.
it actually starts with the bold-faced text on page 4.
Right.
Yeah,
Page 4, starting with line 9 is the only thing
That's
that
right.
would remain.
that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
right.
so we
Move
are.
the bills
in
amended.
agreement. Yeah, okay.
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
aye or raise your hand. Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that was unanimous, and thank you very much, all the delegates who discussed and offered amendments, and Delegate Vice Chair Crosby for taking on the amendments for the full committee. Now let's move on to HB 180. Okay, so hopefully this one is slightly less controversial. It's only about eyelashes, right? So we had so much fun talking about that. But it's a pretty serious health risk for many people. And I had a discussion with the bill sponsor last night. So before I go any further, I'm going to go through the protocol by asking the council to discuss the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 180, State Board of Cosmetologists licensing eyelash extensions, authorizes the State Board of Cosmetologists to issue a limited license for eyelash extension services.
Okay, so it seems like a pretty straightforward bill, which is to create a new license under the cosmetology licensure for anyone in business. The discussion I had with the bill sponsor last night was to exempt those that are already in business for at least the 7 years from the requirement of studying, getting trained. They still have to pass the exam in order to get a license because it's a brand new license. The bill sponsor felt like all of a sudden we have these requirements, and those that are already in business in good standing, can just go ahead and pass the exam instead of having to go through how many hours of training and so forth. But it's the only caveat, as I discussed with the vice chair, is this bill, this amendment has not been officially drafted. So I see some hands up, Delegate Queen.
Actually, I think you just answered it. I was asking, had the amendment been drafted? Because there was amendment from Labor
Yeah,
about it. So it's favorable with amendment, but I didn't know if we had the amendment.
no, I did not actually, hold on. Tatiana, do we have an amendment from the Labor?
I didn't receive an amendment from them for this one.
Not for HB 180, I
180.
think.
I don't think so.
Well, the testament one, yeah, 180 has the testimony for labor is favorable with amendment, and I was trying to see what they were actually saying. And it had something to do with training or something. That's why I wanted to know, did they get the amendment in? I didn't have any other notes on it besides that.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think Delegate Howard has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How is the 7 years, is that just attestation by the employee? How is that, is that verified through an employer?
It can be verified through their tax record. If the business is in business, they have to be registered with the state and has some kind of like with SDED or something.
What about just an employee though?
Oh, an employee, right?
Mhm.
They would have some kind of documentation as well, I'm sure. So you're saying the verification, this is.
Right, so we
Right.
picked 7 years, as long as they've been doing it for 7 years, all they have to do is pass the exam, which seems reasonable. Somebody that's not skilled in this craft would certainly want to pass the exam.
Mhm.
So even if, they would have to study and pass the exam and go, even if it's sort of self-paced at that point. But my question is like, how are we verifying the 7 years? Through the business, I totally understand through SDAT,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
through an employee, how are we verifying the 7 years? Is that just a self-attestation at the time of application for the license, or
Well, I
at
think
the
the
exam?
licensing body has to decide what kind of documentation is considered qualified.
Okay, so that could be as much as employer verification, almost like when you're going to get your PMP, your project management. You have to do a block set of hours. All those employees have to be verified. This, of course, you're dealing with people's health, to as little as somebody just saying, yeah, I've been doing this for 7 years.
Okay,
Is that right?
I think we should probably verify that. I don't have a ready answer for you on that technical question about what kind of documentation qualifies for an individual, not a business. It's a good question. Okay. All right, let me move to Delegate Pippi.
Sure, I was just gonna say, I think Delegate Queen was asking the department what they wanted in their amendment, and it looks to be, just for the good of the order, they wanted to see if you would add estheticians,
Yeah.
estheticians. I can't pronounce it, but you know what I'm saying. That's what they wanted added to be licensed. That was their forward with amendments, so.
Oh, okay. We don't have the official amendment for that, but thank you for mentioning it.
I just emailed you what they said too, just so I found it.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I had Delegate Crosby, Vice Chair Crosby. Yeah, okay.
I apologize. I'll make sure I put my hand down.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But could you just, procedurally let the committee know how we can move on this sponsored recommended amendment in light of our discussion? Should we just move on the bill,
I think we should just hold off. Yeah, I think we should just hold off, and we can have we can move. I think we just move favorable without the amendment on there, and we can have further discussion. I do think that and as Delegate Howard, as well as Delegate Pippi, I mean, I'm not really sure how you're going to verify whether or not somebody has been in the business for X period of time. And I think there's probably more substantive conversation dialogue around that, but we can have that conversation in full committee. So I just move the bill favorable, and we can discuss it further in committee.
So we will move the bill as drafted, which would require everybody to pass the exam, go through the study, pass the exam, and get the license for now. Okay.
Yep, move favorable.
Everybody. Okay, all right, second. All in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Has everybody motioned? Okay.
Well, I guess my assumption is that we will still address the Department of Labor's amendment later as well.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
Good.
If they
Wait,
so
do we
wish.
just vote on the bill to move it to full committee?
Yeah.
Did you record the nays or?
Yeah, I haven't got to that part, so let's just
Oh,
try
you're on the
to start
amendment.
again. Okay, so all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Okay. Opposed? All right, so
Are we voting the
one-
amendment or the bill?
the bill.
Okay.
I think for clarity, I think for clarity, folks are trying to figure out, we're gonna move the bill as is and then address the
We're
amendments
moving the
in
bill-
full committee.
We're moving the bill without any amendments
Yeah.
at this point.
Mm.
Okay, so it's a stricter standard, which requires everybody to study, get pass the exam and get licensed. That's what the bill does.
As long as they've been in business 7 years, right?
No, it has nothing to do with that anymore because that 7-year
Oh.
was just the recommended amendment. Since
Oh,
we
okay,
put
I'm
it in
sorry.
writing, we're not voting on that.
Okay, I'm sorry,
We're
Madam
just
Chair. I
trying
follow.
to- Yeah,
Yeah, I follow you now.
yeah, we're trying to move the bill as drafted, so the full committee can have time to add the amendments as we discussed, just like the first bill. Okay.
Okay.
Basically, we're voting on establishing a new license. That's what
Right.
that is, okay? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So we
all right.
do roll call, Madam Chair?
So let me just try again. All in favor of the bill as drafted, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, 1 or 2, okay, or 3, all right, okay.
I mean, we're gonna have this thing in full committee and we can
Yes.
go from there. So
Sure.
just, yeah. So-
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that was easy. All right. HB 385. So HB 385 is sponsored by Delegate Jeffrey Long. It is about pay stub transparency. I will defer to our counsel to explain the bill. Hello, Tatiana.
Madam Chair. House Bill 385, wage payment and collection, pay stubs and pay statement required information, expands the amount of information an employer is required to include on an employee's pay stub or pay statement. Which the information includes the employer's name and business address and telephone number, dates of work, number of hours, rates of pay, gross and net pay. And there is one amendment that conforms the House bill to the Senate bill.
Okay, so the Senate has passed this bill with amendments. This bill basically clarifies the type of information on each pay stub, and you can see all of that mostly on page 2. It's a fairly short bill, and then it requires the Commissioner of Labor to provide a template to employers as amended. Okay, then it adjusts the penalty for violation to up to $500, not $5,000. It's significantly lower as a ceiling. Okay, Delegate Adams.
All right, so 2 questions before we vote on this. The first one is private right of action out of the bill?
I believe so.
And I would want to know that for sure before I.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it is.
And then the second question is, Labor had a amendment based on a conversation that Crosby was having. Can we confirm that that's part of the amendments that we're perhaps considering today? So there was question about the penalties and whether these penalties stack or or be, if it's $500 per day per employee, or so the amendment that I saw, and I don't have it handy for some reason, appears to make it such that the commissioner has some broad discretion as to what the penalties look like. So, Chair, what I would say, for example, if you have somebody that's committing, serious wage theft and they're using the paychecks to facilitate it, I would personally feel like the commissioner should have power to, levy a substantial penalty. But if it's a mistake or an error or omission, maybe it's the first time there's been a problem. The amendment should have been speaking to, that kind of discretion that we give the commissioner, which was not part of the original bill. So I don't know that I have that amendment handy, but can we confirm that the subcommittee got that amendment?
We did not get that amendment. We got excuse me, we got sponsor amendments.
Okay.
That,
So I'll just say, if it doesn't have private right of action and we take amendments that I saw that came from the department, I would be willing to support the bill out of subcommittee. But I'd want to know that for sure. And that's all I got.
all right. Thank you, Delegate about.
I apologize, Madam Chair, but I was chairing a
Delegate
delegation
Valderrama.
subcommittee. So if you would kindly let me know what bill, because I don't feel comfortable in a vote that I don't know what we're discussing since I just jumped on. So
385, HB 385.
thank you. And again, apologies. I was in another meeting. 385. Okay.
All right. Did I see Delegate Pippi's hand up earlier?
Chris, Delegate Adams asked my questions. Thanks.
Okay. So we have pretty extensive amendments from the Senate version.
Madam Chair, do you want to
Yeah.
hold this one until everybody can see the Senate amendments, and then we can get everybody on board and then come back on the next subcommittee and vote? Because I think what Chris said is accurate and true, but I want to make sure he has the ability to see it, and then I think we'll be able to get more support behind the bill. So I know for a fact private right of action is out. I just need to confirm that little labor piece, which I also believe, Chris, that the penalties are capped at $500, which coincides with the rest of the code. I think right now on the bill it's 5,000. So it definitely
Yes.
tinkers that down. So we will confirm that for you. Would you be
Yeah.
okay with
So-
that, Madam Chair?
So you are saying we'll hold the bill so we can figure out this broadest authority that we are authorizing the Commissioner of Labor to impose.
Yeah, we just want to confirm, and that way we can have more subsequent or substantive dialogue with Delegate Adams, and we can all see the Senate amendments.
Okay.
So to my colleagues, Madam Chair, the reason why that second amendment is important is that, we don't want honest mistakes to be hammers. By the same token, on this particular subject, the way around wage theft quite often is through these paychecks, and you don't want to just this bill has a purpose from a business owner's perspective like me. So I think those amendments from the labor are constructive to the overall subject.
Okay. Well, I'm fine with that, but just to be clear, that it's pretty prescriptive in the current amendment that says, within 15 days, you may request administrative hearing once you get a notification from the Labor Commissioner. And within 30 days after the Commissioner issues an order, then the employer is expected to comply with the order. So I'm fine with holding that bill. So we'll just, special order that.
Okay, so
Okay,
Madam Chair, just to understand your intent, you want me to move the amendment?
Please do.
Okay, move the
I'm
amendment.
sorry, move the, no. Okay. We're going to hold the bill.
Yes.
So
please.
the motion is to hold the bill, not to move the amendment. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So the motion is to hold the bill. All right, okay,
Second.
all right. Everyone okay with that? Okay.
Yep.
All right, okay, we're gonna hold that bill. All right, so that concludes our interesting discussion work session this morning. Thank you very much. And I do want to remind everyone, we have more bills coming. And I need everyone to show up on time, or let me know if you cannot show up on time, because we only have a few members, and every member's vote and opinion will matter in these discussions. So thank you very much.
If I'm
Yes, Delegate
just,
Valderrama. You are muted.
sorry, I have delegation subcommittee 9 a.m. every Thursday, so not,
Okay.
So-
All right, we'll try to work around that as much as possible.
okay. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Okay.